Uh-oh.
No,
Amadou's gone
let's
too?
style.
Oh,
Yeah,
was that
let's style
Style
up.
or was that Amadou?
No, the from Nambia is
Oh,
Ahmedab.
that was
You would
Amadou. My bad. My bad. Okay. All right. My bad.
style. Yeah, style is
Style.
fine.
Hey, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Sorry. I was like, what'd I do?
Talk to us.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, cool. Can you question religion and still love God? Yes, absolutely. As a Christian myself, it's all throughout the Bible, constantly. Um, every author is constantly questioning God. So I think it's perfectly acceptable, and I would argue that it's actually required and encouraged. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that topic.
That's interesting. If you don't mind me, I got a couple follow up questions because I often see that naturally when you have questions in life, if you're in this pursuit of truth, and you're pursuing, you're reading all the different religious texts, um, reading all these different perspectives. My question is, how do we get to a point where there's a fear that if your honest intellectual process doesn't lead you to agree with or believe, or you see things that just don't make sense, should you ever be afraid in that process?
Yeah, wonderful question. To be honest, so for me personally, no, never. I never think you should be. I come from a Christian tradition of I'm a universalist. I believe all will be saved at the end of the day. So I don't see it as anything that like you're threatening your salvation. Now there are Christian denominations that would say otherwise. I would argue they're wrong, but no, don't ever think you need to be scared of that. An all
Okay.
good, all powerful, all knowing, all loving God would not say, "Hey man, he doesn't have all the information. He doesn't believe with me. Send him to hell." Like I just don't
Yeah.
think that
Okay. All right.
happens.
And now
That
that's
doesn't make
great.
any
Okay.
sense.
I haven't been able to talk to one of you guys, but this is great um, because my next question: what if, in this process, this pursuit of the truth, intellectually honest, this pursuit of the truth, you you come to the conclusion that there is value in spiritual unity, and there's this value in seeing that there are fundamental principles that we can not only align ourselves with but identify with in order to, and through my own personal experience, coming from being Catholic, I left the faith, so to speak, um, and came to this conclusion that's believes that it actually hinders people in their spiritual journey and prevents them from, in a lot of ways, becoming more Christ-like. And so, as a universalist, as a Christian, ultimately it makes sense that your goal would be for all of us to embody that Christ-likeness. But what if I come to the conclusion that the very label Christian itself is a distortion from Jesus Christ's original message, and that the very concept of this religious plurality that I believe plagues humanity, what if I believe that we all need to actually grow out of that, and Jesus Christ didn't come to make followers that say I have my faith in Jesus, when in reality maybe he there was a more mystical message where he called all of us to embody love and to understand love at its deepest layers, which is forgiveness, mercy, oneness, and that in that process we will, realize that inner Christ, that harmonizer of opposites, and then ultimately usher in a heaven on earth. For he said the kingdom is at hand, and I think he meant that we just have to wake up to this. What if you come to that conclusion and you see that the very label Christian is part of the problem? Is
Then
it
I
okay?
think your definition of Christian is bad. Your label of Christian is bad because there's nowhere in all of the Bible that Christ says stop learning. He never says stop exploring. In fact, I would argue he says don't stop. I would argue that the premise hinges on that definition of Christian, and I would argue that whoever's using that definition, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying whoever's using that definition of Christianity or Christian, that definition's wrong.